Bihari. Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari. Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana. Jamuna Tira Vanacharya. Yamuna Tira Vanacharya. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramhamsa Pariravati Saraswati Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Aboy Charanavinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Anantakoti Vaishnava Brinda Ki Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Prem Sekaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shiva Sadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakund Radhakund Giri Govardhana Ki Vrindavan Dhama Ki Mayapur Navadvip Dhama Ki Ganga Maya Ki Jamuna Maya Ki Bhakti Devi Ki Tulsi Maharani Ki Gaura Premananda. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gaura. All glories to the Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 So today is the appearance day of Lord Nrsimhadev, and along with Lord Nrsimhadev we always remember his beloved disciple Prahlad Maharaj. Lord Nrsimhadev appeared, and it's said that he has a very short appearance, comes and goes within a day, mainly to give mercy to Prahlad Maharaj. So I was going to focus a little bit on the attitude of Prahlad Maharaj and a broader understanding of the circumstances under which Hiranyakashipu had to come. This particular verse is one of Prahlad's prayers. So please repeat. Naivo Dvije Para Duratyaya Vaitaranyas Tvad Dhirya Rayana Mahamrita Magna Chittaha Soche Tato Vimukha Cetasa Indriyata Maya Sukhaya Param Udvahato Vimudhan. Naivo Dvije Paradurataya Vaitaranyas Tvadvirya Gayana Mahamrita Magna Chittaha Sochetato Vimukha Cetasa Indriyata Maya Sukhaya Baram Udvato Vimudhan. Noduje Paradurataya Vaitaranyas Twadvirya Gayana Mahamrita Magna Chittaha Sochetato Vimukha Cetasa Indriyata Maya Sukhaya Baram Udvahato Vimudhan. Paraduratya Vaitaranyas Virya Gayana Mahamrita Magna Chittaha Sochetato Vimukha Cetasa Indriyata Maya Sukhaya Baram Udvahato Vimudhan. Vijay Paradurataya Vaitaranyas
Vadviraguranye Mahamritu Manachita Sochetato Vimukha Cetasa Indriyata Maya Sukhaya Baram Udvata Vimudhan.
Not. Eva. Certainly. Udvije. I am disturbed or afraid. Para. O Supreme. Duratyaya. Insurmountable or very difficult to cross. Vaitaranyaha. Of the Vaitarani. The river of the material world. Tvatvirya, of your lordships, glorious and activities. Gayana, from chanting or distributing. Mahamrita, in the great ocean of nectarine spiritual bliss. Magna Chittaha, whose consciousness is absorbed. Soche, I am simply lamenting. Tataha, from that. Vimukha Chetasaha, the fools and rascals who are bereft of Krishna consciousness. Indriya Artha, in sense gratification. Maya Sukhaya, for temporary illusory happiness. Bharam, the false burden or responsibility of maintaining one's family, society and nation, and elaborate arrangements for that purpose. Udvahata, who are lifting by making grand plans for this arrangement. Vimudhan, although all of them are nothing but fools and rascals, I am thinking of them also. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. O best of the great personalities, I am not at all afraid of material existence, for wherever I stay, I am fully absorbed in thoughts of your glories and activities. My concern is only for the fools and rascals who are making elaborate plans for material happiness and maintaining their families, societies and countries. I'm simply concerned with love for them. Please repeat. O best of the great personalities, I am not at all afraid of material existence. For wherever I stay, I am fully absorbed in thoughts of your glories and activities. My concern is only for the fools and rascals who are making elaborate plans for material happiness and maintaining their families, societies and countries. I am simply concerned with love for them. Throughout the entire world, everyone is making big plans to adjust the miseries of the material world. And this is true at present, in the past and in the future. Nonetheless, although they make elaborate political, social and cultural plans, they have all been described herein as vimudha, fools. The material world has been described in Bhagavad Gita as dukkhalayam asashvatam, temporary and miserable. But these fools are trying to turn the material world into sukhalayam, a place of happiness, not knowing how everything acts by the arrangements of material nature, which works in her own way. Prakrite kriyamanani gunai kamani savasaha ahankara vimudhatma kartaham iti manyate. The bewildered spirit soul, under the influence of the three modes of material nature, thinks himself to be the doer of activities that are in actuality carried out by nature. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 3, text number 27. There is a plan for material nature, personally known as Durga, to punish the demons. Although the asuras, the godless demons, struggle for existence, they are directly attacked by the goddess Durga, who is well equipped with 10 hands with different types of weapons to punish them. She is carried by her lion carrier, or the modes of passion and ignorance. Everyone struggles very hard to fight through the modes of passion and ignorance and conquer material nature. But at the end, everyone is vanquished by nature's laws. There is a river known as Vaitarani between the material and spiritual worlds, and one must cross this river to reach the other side, or the spiritual world. This is an extremely difficult task. As the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, text 14, Daiviyesha gunamai mama maya duratteya. This divine energy of mine, consisting of the three modes of material nature, is difficult to overcome. The same word, duratteya, meaning very difficult, is used here. Therefore one cannot surpass the stringent laws of material nature except by the mercy of the Supreme Lord. Nonetheless, although all materialists are baffled in their plans, they try again and again to become happy in this material world. Therefore, they have been described here as vimudha, first-class fools. As for Prahlad Maharaj, he was not at all unhappy, for although he was in the material world, he was full of Krishna consciousness. Those who are Krishna conscious, trying to serve the Lord, are not unhappy, whereas one who has no assets in Krishna consciousness and is struggling for existence is not only foolish, but extremely unhappy also. Prahlad Maharaj was happy and unhappy simultaneously. He felt happiness and transcendental bliss because of his being Krishna conscious. Yet he felt great unhappiness for the fools and rascals who make elaborate plans to be happy in this material world. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadha Shiva Sadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. The background setting for these prayers is the mood, the attitude of the biggest demon of all time in trying to be happy. And the setting, the scene, has arranged by the Supreme Personality of Godhead that this big demon has one of the most exalted devotee sons to contrast their two attitudes and to put for us into proper perspective how we should deal with reverses, inauspicious activities within the world. There's one book written by Satsarup Maharaj where he describes what's happening in society at the time when Hiranyakashipu was in charge, from the attitude of one of the Brahmanas. And he's fearful, the saintly people are fearful when the demons are in control because they want to restrict all religious practices. They want to make themselves the supreme object of worship. We were in Kenya, not as bad as Uganda. When we were in Kenya, there was a war with Uganda. It was in the street over from us. Everything was deserted, but we didn't actually experience all the atrocities. The person who was in charge of Uganda, he was described in the HG Parayana as a very empowered personality with demoniac attitude to try and corrupt everybody, control everybody, take everything for himself. He was the supreme enjoyer, so-called, within that country. Next door in Uganda it spilled over, and whenever we went into any of the different places, on every wall it was legislated there had to be a picture of the leader. And he was the prominent figure. Everybody had to recognize how they were dependent upon the mercy of that personality. So it's imposed, it's forced. When Hiranyakashipu appeared and was in control of the universe, everything was stopped, and the Brahmanas, they were in fear. Some of them were in prison. They were deprived from any ability to perform sacrifice. They were limited in their functions. Another big demon who put out a proclamation: just stop all your sacrifice, stop worshipping Vishnu, instead worship me, offer all of your respect to me. He was eventually killed by the Brahmanas. They recited high-sounding words, and he was removed because it was intolerable, the situation. It's not natural. It's not natural for powerful, deluded people to take over the control of the society and try and redirect everybody's attention towards them. So here we have descriptions of Hiranyakashipu, who from birth was very, very powerful. He actually appeared as a result of two great devotees of the Lord being cursed. Their attitude was slightly incorrect, and they were cursed by devotees, the Kumaras, to take birth in the material world, either 7 births as devotees or 3 births as demons. So they choose to be quickly in the material world and out again. They thought they'd take the short route, they'd become demons. And devotees, in order to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they played that role of demons expertly. There's always it's a stock standard thing. There's always going to be devotees and demons. The devotees are aspiring to remember, to glorify, to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the demons are antagonistic. So in the comparison, the contrast between the devotees and the demons, the devotees become more visibly glorified. The example is given of if you are going to a jewellery shop and you want to buy a very, very attractive piece of jewellery, a big diamond. The owner of the shop, he will take that brilliant shining diamond and he'll show it to you on a black background so that its brilliance will become more visible, more obvious. So in the situation where in the material world where there's a constant struggle for satisfaction, happiness, then there's the two opposing parties. There's the demons and the devotees. So Hiranyakashipu, his history was that he was originally a devotee who was cursed to come to the material world to display the attitude of a demon, to live the life of a demon. So he did it to the best of his ability. He was the best demon, the biggest demon. He was glorified as Sri Hiranyakashipu at one stage because he just was serving Krishna in the best way as a demon, and allowing this pastime that the devotee, the contrast, could be also elevated and shown in an exemplary way. He was making all sorts of plans, Hiranyakashipu. He performed severe austerities. He went up to the Himalayas and he stood on one leg and with his arms raised above his head for 125 years of the demigods. One day of the demigods is equal to 6 months here on this earth planet. So 125 years of the demigods, he was standing there and meditating, praying. A couple of times he got disturbed. There was a little parrot who came and started nattering the glories of Krishna, and it almost distracted him from his austerities. But he was so determined. He stayed there. He was so determined that by standing there, he was immobile, and the ants came and they built an ant nest, a termite nest over his body. And ants, they've got to eat, so they ate all of the flesh off his body. And he was just existing there in the bone marrow. He was a great, powerful yogi, and he was able to maintain his life even without a body, but within the bone marrow. But performing those austerities and meditating on his desired goal to become the Lord of the universe, he became very powerful, and fire started emanating from the top of his head, which was disturbing the whole universe. So the demigods at that time were in control. They came and they requested the Lord Brahma, who was the topmost demigod in the material world, to come and just pacify this demon. So he came before him, he saw him, and he understood that he was trying to perform those austerities to please him. So he agreed, okay, stop your austerities. He revived his body He gave him a fresh new body again, and then he asked him, what do you want? So Hiranyakashipu, after performing those austerities for so long, after terrorizing the universe and creating so much tension in the universe, he asked, well, I want to become immortal. I don't want to die. Brahma said, I can't do that. I myself am not in such a situation. I'm the topmost living in this whole cosmic manifestation. I have to eventually change my body. I have to go to another place. So Hiranyakashipu, after spending 125 years performing austerities, said, okay, well, I'll get from Lord Brahma the best you can give. And he proposed all of these intelligent arrangements so it would appear as though he was immortal. That I will not be killed in the day or in the night. I will not be killed by anything living or dead. I will not be killed by any weapons. I will not be killed in the day or in the night. I will not be killed inside or outside. He thought he had everything covered. So Lord Brahma, it's his business to give boons, give benedictions. This personality had pleased him, so he said, okay, so be it. Hiranyakashipu immediately set about fulfilling his plans to then show off his power, show off his prowess, to be fearless, to not be worried about death, and he took over the whole universe. He had all of the demigods, except for Lord Brahma, Lord Vishnu and Lord Shiva, under his control. The different demigods, they were working in his kitchen, they were cutting up vegetables and serving him, and everybody was glorifying Hiranyakashipu out of fear. While he was away performing austerities, his wife, she was discovered to be pregnant. So the demigods, they thought, quickly, we've got one demon, he's outrageous, so now his wife, the wife of the demon, is pregnant. So we should take that woman and take the child from the womb. We should kill the child to avoid another demon coming. At that time, the great devotee Narada Muni, he appeared on the scene. He was conscious of the future and past and present. He informed the demigods, no, within the womb of this woman is a great devotee. You won't be able to kill him. So they desisted, they put their plans aside, and Narada Muni took Hiranyakashipu's wife back to his ashram and looked after her during the term of her pregnancy. And looking after her as a great devotee, he preached to her. He instructed her, and as simultaneously the child within the womb heard all of the instructions about how to become Krishna conscious, about pure devotional service, about bhakti yoga. His mother fell asleep a lot of the time. She couldn't absorb it. She forgot most of the instructions. But the child within the womb remembered everything, was uplifted. And eventually Hiranyakashipu, he returned from his performing his austerities. He was situated in his place at the top of the universe, and he had this wonderful son. Of course, as an affectionate father, he wanted his child to be trained properly, so he sent him off to the school. And Prahlad had been contaminated, he'd been poisoned and infested with the philosophy of pure devotional service, of Krishna consciousness. So despite all of the best attempts of the teachers to train him in politics and diplomacy and the craft of controlling the universe, he didn't budge an inch. After some time, Hiranyakashipu called the teachers to bring his son there, and he affectionately placed the son on his lap and smelt his head as a sign of affection. The child, you smell their head, and asked him, okay, what's the best thing you've learnt? And Prahlad, he just responded with, for those who have got conditioned desires and who are materially contaminated, they should learn to control their senses. They should give up family life and go to the forest. And Hiranyakashipu was a little bit shocked. He said, what's this? Where's this coming from? You haven't been learning properly. He called the teachers, he chastised them. You've got to train him properly. And you've got to guard against the Vaishnavas, because they might be coming there and giving him some alternative ideas. So he got a second chance. He went back to school. And again, the teachers, they tried very forcefully to educate this young boy. And they taught him about the politics and diplomacy. And again, he came back and same scenario, Hiranyakashipu asked his son, so what was the best thing you learned today? And he said, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atminivedanam. Describing that devotional service is the best thing. Hearing and chanting and remembering. Prahlad Maharaj, he was famous. He was famous for perfecting his life by simply remembering the Lord. And it's described here that he's not upset at any time, because he's always remembering the glories and the association of the Supreme Personality of God. At this time, Hiranyakashipu, he decided, no, that's too much. He's become an enemy. He's become a devotee, and for the demons, they think they're the best. So he's become a demon amongst the devotees. Prahlad Maharaj, he once glorified his father. He said, oh, best of the demons. It's a privilege to be a big demon. So his father, he wasn't happy with this demoniac turn of events. So he said, take him away. He's my son. Even though he's my son, kill him. Kill him. So the other demons, they tried in many, many different ways to destroy this young child. And nowadays in society there's many different subtle attempts to break down the foundations of society and to twist people's minds and to control them and to destroy their individuality. So there are many attempts, and if for those who are sufficiently steeped in spiritual culture and Krishna consciousness, then they won't budge an inch, they won't get affected, they'll be protected. Same thing was demonstrated by Prahlad. He was thrown off mountains. He was attempted to be pulled apart by elephants, big strong elephants. He was attacked with all sorts of weapons. And he was thrown into a pit of poisonous snakes. He was fed poisonous foodstuff. He was attempted to be drowned, electrified, all sorts of things. But just sitting there and meditating and remembering his beloved Lord, Jai Shri Hari, Jai Shri Hari, just remembering and glorifying. If you can't remember, if you can at least glorify Krishna. That's why we're always chanting Hare Krishna. We're trained to just have another track in the brain. You're under distress, just switch back to that other track. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So the teachers, they thought they were going to get into big trouble because he's become a demon and we can't kill him. We're hopeless. So they went back and they pleaded. They then used subterfuge, diplomacy. They asked Prahlad, how is you're a lovely little boy, where did these Vaishnavas come from? Did they come in disguise? How did they actually get to where have you been able to absorb this information? They were on guard. Let's find out. Let's keep the Vaishnavas away. Prahlad, he also just preached to them about the notion of friends and enemies in the world. There's no such thing as friends and enemies. We're all parts and parcels of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And we have an attitude towards other people like that, but it's ultimately Krishna's arrangement. We should just remember him. So again, one last attempt to educate him. The teachers tried very, very diligently to train Prahlad Maharaj. And when he came back to see his father asked him again, and Prahlad was fixed. He just described his understanding that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is everywhere, and he's within everything. There's no place where he's not. Hiranyakashipu couldn't tolerate this anymore, so he said, I'll kill him. But first he challenged. If you can't kill someone, and in this day and age, the process of Krishna consciousness is not to kill somebody, but to try and kill their demoniac mentality, to change their heart, to smother them with a higher level of self-realization, and that way they'll give up their lower consciousness. Hiranyakashipu, he challenged Prahlad. He said, is your Lord here? Is he everywhere? Is he in this pillar? And Sri Prahlad, being fixed in his determination and his preaching, he didn't have to water it down or try and adjust things. He said, yes, of course. And because of that faith, then his protector, his beloved Lord, appeared in this awesome form, a half man, half lion. So he's not a man and he's not a beast. He appeared from the pillar. And Hiranyakashipu was bewildered for some time. Nobody ever seen such an amazing form of the Lord, half man, half lion, huge pillar that he appeared from. So he eventually understood, okay, this must be Vishnu, he's come to kill me. So he prepared to fight with him, and they fought for some time. Lord Nrsimhadev, the half lion, half man incarnation, he played with Hiranyakashipu like a little cat plays with a mouse. And eventually, at the right time, in order to keep all of the benedictions of Lord Brahma intact, he took the squirming demon onto his lap, which is not on the ground and not in the air. And it was at the right time. It was not day or not night, it was dusk. The juncture of the day and the night. He took him not inside the house and not outside the house. He took him into the doorway. And he didn't use any weapons. He didn't use anything living or dead. He took his fingernails. Fingernails, they're not living and they're not dead. They keep growing, but you can cut them. You don't feel any pain. So with his fingernails, he took the demon, placed him on his lap, and he just tore him in half. He bifurcated him. He ripped him in half. Very, very angry because he'd been fighting, it had incited his anger, and the reason for the fight was because his son was being tortured, because the Vaishnavas were being put into difficulties. So he was angry and he tore him in half, and then he uprooted his heart and threw that off into the distance, and he took out all of his intestines and used them like a garland, wrapped them around his neck. When you go into the Melbourne Temple, that's the picture that's greeted you at the front door. And when that picture was first painted, Prabhupada, he saw the first copy and he said, no, more blood. More blood. It has to be very dramatic. And people, they criticize, hey, this is your spiritual culture, you're worshipping a god who is killing the father of his demon, of this young boy. So and then people say sometimes, well, this Lord, he must be partial. He must be favouring certain people. He's not giving mercy equally. But the answer to that is that the mercy of the Lord to people who are not following his instructions is to put them into situations where they will not attack the devotees. The devotees will be protected. And of course, because it's the Lord who's killing them, then they get benefited. They get uplifted. If you die at the hands of the Lord, then you get liberated. So Prahlad Maharaj, he was standing by and he was recognizing his Lord. And Lord Nrsimhadev, he was so angry. Then all of Hiranyakashipu's soldiers, they came and attacked him, and then he killed thousands and thousands of people. But he wasn't satisfied. There's some articles where it's described a wrath supreme. God can be the most angry. So this is the perfection of anger, so angry. The demigods, they came and they tried to pacify him. All of the different controllers of all the different planets, and they were offering different prayers from their point of view, with their particular attitude. We're glad you're here, and now we can get back to our service and things like that. Please, stop being so angry. It's difficult to pacify somebody when there's anger. Even Lord Nrsimhadev, his wife, Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, she was frightened to even go near him when he was angry. She backed off. Finally, Narada Muni or Lord Brahma, they recognized that Lord Nrsimhadev had appeared for the sake of his son, so they pushed Prahlad forward, little 5-6-year-old boy. And he, of course, living up to his philosophy, he had already said, yes, he's in a pillar, and he'd always challenged his father. So he had full confidence that he's my Lord, he'll give me full protection. He threw himself at the Lord's feet, at Lord Nrsimhadev's feet. Lord Nrsimhadev recognized he was in this mood, he was maintaining this anger. Sometimes there's false anger where you use it to teach people. So he was giving a lesson. He used this anger and he maintained it in order to show that he could not be pacified, he could not be satisfied with all the other personalities. Prahlad Maharaj, his beloved devotee who was displaying such exalted remembrance and service, he was the object of his affection. So Prahlad Maharaj, he came forward and paid full obeisances, and Lord Nrsimhadev touched him on the head, patted him on the head. Have you ever been close to a lion? They're ferocious. We were in a safari park, and the lion came up and put his head right next to the window, and it filled up the whole window. But there's a member of that species, the feline species. They still have the same characteristics. They've got affection. It's described that the demons, when they see a cat, then it's like a rat in the mouth of the jaws of the cat. They feel death. Whereas when the kitten is picked up by their mother in the same jaws, they feel loving affection. So the same form, the same personality can be death to those people who are antagonistic. And those people who are demoniac mentality, who are antagonistic to the Lord, then they always see the police department. Whereas people who are good citizens, they see the police and they say, oh, he's my protector. They're happy. It's just the attitude of the relationship and the mood that you have towards the authority. So Prahlad Maharaj, he started offering prayers. By the touch of the hand of the Lord, he was blessed with the power to describe very brilliantly, very, very sweetly, different moods. First he said, well, I'm not qualified to approach you, I'm small, and he prepared to pray. Then he started praying, and he prayed and he glorified the Lord for his wonderful qualities, being everywhere and everything, and here for the pleasure of his devotees. He glorified the process of how the people who in this world should live. They should live in accordance with the laws of God. They should be following the laws of God rather than trying to rebel against them, rather than trying to become happy independently of the Lord. And this prayer here, one of the reasons why I'm focusing on the prayers is one appearance day of the Lord, we were living in Newcastle, and somebody had come to our shop front and they'd thrown a big metal thing through the front window. So I was called by the police at 1:30 in the morning. You've got to come and your place has been broken into. It was Lord Nrsimhadev's appearance day. So I sat up from 1:30 in the morning reading this whole canto of the pastimes of Lord Nrsimhadev. And the prayers of Prahlad Maharaj really stuck in my mind. So we can hear about the pastimes, the activities, the background. But then what we can take home is the substance, the prayers. Every day we offer prayers to Lord Nrsimhadev. Namaste Nrsimhaya Prahlada Ladadayane. So it's described that if you don't know how to pray, then learn some notable prayers. And these prayers, the devotees, they'll sing them at the drop of a hat. When they're on the plane and the plane's about to take off, the devotees will start praying to Lord Nrsimhadev. Even there's only a few of them on the whole plane, and other devotees will see, okay, there's an auspicious atmosphere being created by these prayers. So also here, these prayers, this prayer, this is a prayer exemplifying Prahlad Maharaj's exemplary compassion. O best of the great personalities, I am not at all afraid of material existence, for wherever I stay, I am fully absorbed in thoughts of your glories and activities. My concern is only for the fools and rascals who are making elaborate plans for material happiness and maintaining their families, societies and countries. I'm simply concerned with love for them. When you feel the support, when you feel the presence of a very loving benefactor, then you're confident. There's no fear. You're confident that you're going to be protected. People, they need to protect themselves. They're in fear because they don't know themselves. They're not confident. They don't have that support. So they sometimes lash out. They'll perform many outrageous activities. Somebody who's confident, then they're satisfied. They're within themselves. Prahlad Maharaj, despite all of the torture, despite all of the torment, despite of the situation he was in, despite of seeing so many disturbances in the world, he was happy. But it's said that the Vaishnavas, paradukha dukhi, for the devotees, for those people who are actually in touch with the Supreme Personality of God, in touch with reality, then for them they don't know any unhappiness, except for the unhappiness of seeing other people in distress. The distress of others becomes their unhappiness. So Prahlad Maharaj, he's concerned about the fools and rascals who are making plans to try and lord it over, to try and control and enjoy in the material world. So these prayers we can also learn from their exemplary compassion and try and develop that attitude, try and develop some understanding. I think there's another prayer. What's the actual function of life? It's Nate vidu swata gatim hi Vishnum. The actual goal of life is to perform some austerities. The human form of life is not meant for living like the hogs and the dogs which eat stool. The human form of life is meant for performing austerities, so that one can taste a higher happiness, sukham, anandam, unlimited happiness. Happiness is generally in the material world is just the cessation of the distress. You're sitting there and you're beating yourself on the head with a hammer. When you stop hitting, then you feel good, some relief. You're trying to adjust. You can't solve the problems of the material world. Birth, old age, disease and death. These are problems which you can't overcome. But if you actually understand that you're not the body, that you're actually a spirit soul, you're a servant of the Supreme, and you know how to get out of this place, then those problems just cease to afflict you. And then there's a sense of satisfaction. Rather than trying to enjoy the material world, trying to get to that spiritual world, which is our eternal home. That's success in life. So you have to understand initially that this is not our home. This is not our place. We're not these bodies. The bodies are only a temporary vehicle for us. So these prayers, they can help us. Hearing these pastimes, they can help us. And the purpose of such a festival and such an appearance day is that we can be reminded of the influence, the presence of the Lord within our lives, presence of spiritual reality within our lives, and we can follow in the footsteps of great personalities who are already dedicating their lives to live in such a way. We can learn from their example. Pardon?
Thank you for the class, Shanti Prabhu. I've got a question for you, and a few, but I can try one. Like, Nrsimhadev saw the wheel of the chariot coming towards him, and he felt the ecstasy of Krishna going against his word, acting like Krishna and throwing and fighting, such a bar for the Kshatriya. I mean, we know, like Hiranyakashipu, when he was meditating, he had those birds chirping on, and he got disturbed. But apparently when he conceived Prahlad, he thought of that mantra. It's one reason why Prahlad had said that he's a devotee. There's many reasons. There's one there, because he was thinking of that mantra when he was conceived. So I am wondering, is Hiranyakashipu take pleasure when he was on the lap of the Lord? Was there a moment when he received the Lord like that?
Okay, so the question was that there's reciprocation between the Father and the Son, between the Lord and the servitor. And a couple of examples of...
I'm wondering if his consciousness is right on the time of his...
Apparently not. This personality took birth 3 times as a demon.
Yeah.
And he was not so conscious. He was very antagonistic. He was fighting. Of course, transcendentally, existentially, being in such a situation, he felt uplifted. But his anger was so strong. He wasn't surrendering. He wasn't admitting. Then in the pastime of Lord Ram, he killed the same personality in the form of Ravan. Ravan, he was always meditating on this human who he knew was Vishnu. So he was meditating upon him. And at the time of when he was ready to leave his body, then his attitude slightly changed, but not enough. Shishupal, he was meditating, but he was actively antagonistic. This is the same demon appearing in the third. He was antagonistic, and he had to blaspheme the Lord 100 times and be tolerated, and then he was eventually removed. But it's described, there's a description, that as he was leaving his body, his soul came out of his body and merged into the form of the Lord, indicating that he was connected more closely.
So he was given forgetfulness by Krishna throughout that initial Leela of Hiranyakashipu, like that.
Yeah, in order, the forgetfulness was given by the Lord. In order to be antagonistic to the Lord, then you have to forget that He's your beloved Lord and Master.
When he took his wife to the ashram during the birth in Hiranyakashipu, where's my wife?
He was away performing austerities.
Oh, yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Okay, nice of him to leave during the pregnancy. Okay, sure. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Any other comments or questions? Krishna.
There seems to be a little confusion about our fasting. I thought we fasted till dusk. Someone had said, no, we only fast till noon. Could you...
Well, the GBC has mandated that there's certain Vishnu Tattva appearances when we fast for a particular time. So I believe that the fast for today's festival is only up until midday. It's an adjustment by the GBC. Generally, you fast until the moment of the appearance. So it's described that at dusk, which is when the previous fast was, that's not the appearance necessarily. That's the time when Hiranyakashipu was killed. So previously, so just to clarify a few things, then the GBC has stepped in and said this is the standard. Fasting is so that you have a little bit of a relief on the urge, the push to look after the body, and you can put more time and energy into thinking about where it's coming from, where your life is coming from. One devotee who was an advocate of fasting was saying, one thing you can learn from fasting is that if you don't eat, you won't die. Your body will be maintained, your life has to be maintained. But if you're not capable of fasting, then take some fruit, take some water. Don't perform severe austerities above and beyond what you're capable of. And then, of course, after the fast, there's a wonderful feast. So take the feast also carefully. So please remember, Bahir Nishrinha Hridaya Nishrinha Nishrinha Madim Sharanam Patajay. Lord Nrsimhadev is within, He is without, and by surrendering unto Him then we can get His blessings, His mercy, and we should follow in the footsteps of Sri Prahlad Maharaj, who was exemplary in always remembering the Lord under so many trials and tribulations. Nrsimhadev Bhagavan ki, Sri Prahlad Maharaj ki, Gaura Premanandi.